It's an avocado. Thanks. Some of you might get that reference. It's a Vine and a kid that went viral for opening up an avocado gift. And that's all I've been thinking about this morning. I'm sure a lot of you have been looking at this risk early this morning, too. We did have the update and the upgrade to an enhanced level 3 out of 5 risk over central Nebraska for this Tuesday. This is today. We're talking about this morning just before 8 a.m. is when I'm putting this together. And we have that overall level 3 out of 5 risk for areas of central Nebraska in orange, all the way up through O'Neill and just barely into South Dakota. But that comes with an increasing confidence in a damaging wind threat. Let me first break down. You'll see that Lincoln and areas of southeast Nebraska are included in a slight level 2 out of 5 risk for severe weather, but generally I think storms will be a lot weaker by the time they make it into southeast Nebraska tonight. We're going to go through all that, the timing, the details, what I'm seeing, but that orange area, that's where severe storms will be likely. I think we could see a severe thunderstorm watch. Probably not a tornado watch tonight. There is an isolated chance at a tornado early on, but that's a lower end risk, and it's mainly damaging wind that could be more persistent, a little more widespread with that enhanced risk. And then Lincoln in the slight risk, meaning we have scattered severe storms that could be possible, kind of short-lived, but overall that risk for severe weather I think is dropping off late tonight by the time storms get here. So diving into each individual threat, we're talking about the damaging wind first, because largely this enhanced risk is driven by this potential and the threat of damaging winds. Largely those black hash marks, whenever you see those show up for the damaging wind threat, they mean that winds could exceed 75 miles an hour in this area by this evening. The red areas where we have a little bit higher probabilities of that happening, and then the probabilities drop off into the yellow and then eventually into the brown. Again, early on in the life cycle of these storms, early on in the early stage of these storms developing out in this area and then moving east, isolated tornado can't be ruled out. The brief spin-up type, not worried about an outbreak, not worried about a lot of tornadoes or strong tornadoes, but can't rule out a brief, short-lived one, largely in this area, just a 2% risk for this Tuesday. Large hail is also early stages of the thunderstorms developing in western Nebraska, over North Platte into north central Nebraska, the higher probabilities there. And then really, again, the risk drops off as these move into portions of eastern Nebraska and eventually southeast Nebraska overnight. So let's talk about what Stormcast has this morning. Largely, we're waiting a while today. Hot, humid, highs in the middle and upper 90s. So you can imagine the ingredients out ahead of a cold front that will be dropping out of the Dakotas will be right for thunderstorm development. Largely a pool of hot, humid air, largely in central Nebraska to be played with, and that's where the storm potential and the severe risk is the greatest. But after 2, 3 o'clock, there you see storms initiating back here in northwest Nebraska. Initially, you can kind of see these individual cells by themselves. This is 5 o'clock. And here into central Nebraska, again, isolated tornadoes, some hail, before these eventually come together this evening. And there you see it. There I'm looking 8 o'clock, central Nebraska, more of the damaging wind threat. You can kind of see this segment of storms bowing out a little bit, some storms carrying over into southwest Nebraska. But eventually, as these storms continue east, what I see in these models this morning, kind of this feature. You don't see very high reflectivity, not a high rain rate or anything threatening out ahead, but actually what I see is an outflow boundary or a gust front out ahead of these storms, meaning they become outflow dominant, which is actually an indication of these storms weakening as we get later in the night. Once the sun goes down, this is 10, 11 o'clock, these storms are marching on toward the Tri-Cities, not in southeast Nebraska just yet, but already on a weakening trend before they even get here. So still could be some severe storms at this point. Again, still at this point of the night, thinking damaging wind is the primary threat. And then, look at that. Let me back up a little bit. Just beyond midnight, 1:30, we're losing coverage. There's a lot less energy that these storms will have to work with in southeast Nebraska in general, let alone it's already on a weakening trend by the time it gets here. So we're losing coverage Storms are becoming more scattered and then spotty as we go into Wednesday morning. Still some lingering showers for the morning commute, but overall the severe threat isn't really there anymore as these storms are progressing into southeast Nebraska. Borderline severe if we see anything. So as we lose that coverage, we're not talking about a ton of rain in southeast Nebraska, unfortunately. I know we need the rain in Lincoln. We haven't seen a ton of it from recent rounds. Most of the rain and the higher rain potential is in central and northeast Nebraska, where those stronger storms will be later tonight, really this evening. And then the rest of this week, we're on a cooling trend. So highs today are in the 90s as we've gotten on a swing back into summer today and yesterday compared to the cooler weekend we had. But after today, highs in the 80s for Wednesday and then the 70s for Thursday as rain and thunderstorm chances continue. But the overall threat for severe weather throughout the rest of this week will drop off. We're at a marginal risk, meaning across this area, isolated storms maybe becoming severe, up to 60 mile per hour winds, maybe up to quarter-size hail. Not going to be a big deal on Wednesday, really. And really some questions still as to how much the atmosphere is going to recharge for another round of thunderstorms that may miss us altogether on Wednesday in the afternoon, and then another potential round Wednesday night into early Thursday. But again, the overall threat for severe weather we're looking at is low and not really there for Thursday. There's a small chance for anything on Thursday before more storm chances Friday and Saturday, and we will be warming back up by the end of this week into next week. And next week kind of looks like some more dog days this summer, getting hot, middle 90s for multiple days kind of thing. So Tuesday, thinking we'll see a watch type of day in central Nebraska this evening. Again, the main threat being damaging wind with that risk for severe weather. Of course, we appreciate you tuning in. Like, subscribe as I continue to do these videos as needed as we have the risk for severe weather here in Nebraska.